So we had did a lot of traveling out of Hong Kong into China. When we decided to leave China, I finished our assignment in '93. It was the end of time. In October, Wilma flew home. I worked for another month in Hong Kong. And then I spent a month on the train touring China. It was something that Wilma didn't want to do, but I really wanted to be able to see as much of China as I could.
Wayne wanted to experience it all. Every hillside, every waterfall. He had a heart like an open sky, and a suitcase packed with why-not eyes. He wasn't chasing fortune or fame, just the wind and a new street name. From dusty roads to neon signs, Wayne moved through life 1 mile at a time. Wayne wanted it all, the stories, the stars, the sound of the wheels beneath foreign cars, the hush of a temple, the bells of a call, a slow train through China. Wayne wanted it all. He wrote postcards and coffee-stained ink from little towns where the locals winged, shared rice with monks, danced in the rain, took the back roads just to miss the plane. He stood on cliffs with his arms held wide, swore the world made sense from that high. Never rushed, but he never stayed. Always one more dream to chase. Wayne wanted it all, the silence, the songs, the barefoot paths where he didn't belong, the hum of the rails and the lantern-lit halls, a slow train through China. Wayne wanted it all. And they said, aren't you tired?
I'm still in the process here, but what I did was I built all these cabinets, okay, and I built all those, and I had all my engines in there, but you know you couldn't get to them, and so for me to be able to sell them and put together a presentation of my collection, I moved them all out to put them on the tables.
How much you think your train collection is valued
It's
at?
worth between $2,000 and $3,000. You know, it's a reasonable price. You know, by the book, it's probably worth $4 or $5. But, you know, there's a lot of things that, like as an example, you know, you collected over since 1960, and there are things like those 3 blue cars, right? They're supposed to have helicopters on the other 2. but I don't have helicopters for them, and so there's just cars. And that, so there's things that, you know, but the engines, those engines are beautiful. Those engines are worth probably at least $1,000. Okay, and then over here, I've got all these. These are all engines now. I moved them all over here. So these are electric and diesels. Okay. So again, they're worth probably another $1,000 if you look at it. There's some that have never been run. You know, that New England, the Virginias, the electrics have never been run. The Northern Pacific has never been run. And then over here are the, most of them are all steam engines, okay? You can pull that back. See, there's a couple of beautiful engines like that one there. This one here, that Union Pacific, they've never been run. This one down here, that's a
So when you took your train trip to China, through China,
yeah.
were you on a train like one of these guys?
Yeah, they were diesels. I never got on a Chinese steam train. They were still running steam, but most of it was freights. And so most of their engines would be more like these over here, like those kind of engines would be on the, what I did was I would, there would be a passenger car that would have about 20 compartments on it. And so I spent a month there in different trains, but you would always find somebody on the train, a professor or somebody, you know, that could speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would always have a great time because the curiosity, you know, I was kind of unusual to them. And so we spent a lot of time with translators and just talking back and forth. And had a great time. Remember as I was getting near the end of my trip, I was in Shanghai waiting to catch a train to up to Beijing. And they didn't know what to do with me. And so they took me out on the tracks to one of the working shacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was these little old ladies that worked on the railroad. And there was one, this was at night, probably 10, 11 o'clock at night. And she couldn't speak English, but she could say Shanghai. And she kept, you know, like a song, you know, like Shanghai, Shanghai. You know, you had all those kind of experiences with people that were just super.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you always felt safe. You know, and people would help you. But back then I was pretty mobile. So I didn't need any help. But a couple of times when I couldn't make a connection on a train, I had a sleeping bag with me, and I'd pull out my sleeping bag and sleep in the terminal. And you wake up in the morning and there would be 20, 30 people standing around you. What is this, right? But they got used to me.
What was your most memorable experience?
Oh God, I don't know. It's hard to say. I had so many of them.
Top 5.
Top 5. Well, I used to. You see upstairs, you saw those statues, Lladros and things. Well, they were made in Valencia, Spain. And so every time I would go to Europe, I would end up my trip. Most of my business trips were in Sweden, Germany, and Italy and all that. But I'd always end up, my last place I'd stop at would be in Valencia, Spain. And so I'd buy a box of Lladros. And one time I had driven from Barcelona down to Valencia south of there with a rented car. And so I came up from there expecting to catch a train to Paris and the train was and then fly back from Paris. And I went to the wrong station. Barcelona has 2 railroad stations. I went to the wrong one. And so my train had left. Wilma had said, hey, you gotta be home. People are coming, you gotta be here. And so I knew I had to get here. And so there was a couple there at that place, at that station. And they said, they took me out to a taxi. And the taxi driver had an old Mercedes. And he said, hey, I can beat the train to its first stop. And so I had a big box of Lladros, threw them up on the top of the taxi, tied them down, and we had a hell of a trip. But we got there before the train. So that was one memorable experience. So I finished my train trip in Beijing and caught the Siberian Express, which goes from Beijing to Moscow. It was like a 7-day trip. A really interesting trip. You saw an awful lot of Russia and Siberia, Mongolia. And then I spent time in Moscow and then went to St. Petersburg, did all the tourist things. Then I got on the train in St. Petersburg to go to Finland, to Helsinki. Met a couple of girls from New York. I was snacking on a candy bar, a Snickers bar, and they came up and said, you must be an American because you're eating a Snickers bar. So we got into Helsinki and they wanted to go up to the Arctic Circle. So that night we got on the train, went all the way up to Lapland in the Arctic Circle. That was Thanksgiving of 1993. We had a great time. We went snowmobiling in the Arctic Circle. For dinner, for Thanksgiving, they wanted to find some turkey. Unfortunately, we went to a number of restaurants, but they weren't serving turkey in Finland. So we ended up eating reindeer. The next day, I came back through Stockholm, went down through Europe because the Iron Curtain had collapsed in 1993. So I was able to go to Prague and to Hungary and do those things. The time I was there was December of 93. Wilma was in North Carolina with her brother Pate died in December of 1993. So then both of us ended up coming home. I retired from IBM at the beginning of 1994. Over the next 10 years, I realized that I was really retired, and it took some adjustment. Ma continued with her bridge clubs and all of her activity. The only thing she complained about was she had to make lunch. Other than that, we got pretty adjusted to spending an awful lot of time together. We missed traveling to all the exotic locations with IBM, but most of our travel was with family in the States. We spent a lot of time in Denver with Mark, and in North Carolina with Bob and his wife in the Smoky Mountains. Wilma loves the Smokies, that's where she grew up. Bob died in 2002, but his wife Jeanette continued to live in the house until 1923 when she passed. We spent a great amount of our time in North Carolina. We took a couple of big trips with Bev and Glenn. One was going around the world, where we visited London, then went into Moscow, went from Moscow down to Kenya and went on safari. Wilma loved the animals. We then went to India, and we went to Tiger Tops, where we didn't see any tigers, but we saw a lot of rhinoceroses. We finished up in Bangkok, and then into Hong Kong, Taiwan, and home. We also took a trip with them in 2003, where we went to China and did a Viking cruise down the Yangtze River from Chongqing to Shanghai. We also, during that period of time, from 2000 to 2020, we traveled to Hong Kong 2 or 3 times early, just to see the city and visit some of the old places. But we realized that Hong Kong is a walking city, and with Wilma, with her rheumatic arthritis in my legs, we couldn't walk around Hong Kong. We did one last trip where we went into Hong Kong, spent a week, spent most of it in the hotel room viewing the view, and then we caught a cruise ship and went to Vietnam, Thailand, and then ended up in Singapore. This is my work chair. Give instructions.
We're giving instructions?
Oh yeah, well he did all him and his son did all the building. I just told him how to do it.
But you did it first.
Oh yeah, I did it originally probably 30 years ago.
By yourself?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's back when I didn't need any help.
What did Wilma do?
She was a hairdresser. She had a station downstairs, cut all the friends and neighbors' hair, and she's played bridge and and she's bold, did all those things, played bingo. So she kept busy.
While you built the dream house.
Well, it was just a kind of a project, you know. And she would help if there was something that she could do, you know, type thing. But 1994, we had retired. I was working on the house, and I got a call from one of my friends in IBM who needed someone in Singapore to help build clean rooms. So a gentleman by the name of Dick Sillen and his wife and Wilma and I all went to Singapore. Later in 1995, Lisa had met Jeff Lockwood. They got married after a couple of years on March 30th, 1995. We continued to work in Singapore, then came home, then went back to work in Beijing, came home, went back and worked in Hong Kong. All of that time from 1994, the end of 94, until 99, when Claire was going to be born. So at that time, we decided that I should permanently retire and come home. So it was a wonderful time for Wilma to start having a grandchild that she was with all the time, could take care of. And then a year later, Bren was born. So we now had 2 grandchildren from Lisa, Claire, and Brendan. Lisa now had 2 children who were getting older, and they needed more space. So we got a contractor and added a second story to her house. The contractor did all of the framing and everything, but Lisa and Jeff and I did all the electrical, drywall, finish work, and everything. So I spent probably a year and a half just working on her upstairs. We also remodeled downstairs because the upstairs had a new master bedroom and a rec room and another bedroom. But downstairs, the 2 kids had kind of outgrown their bedrooms, so we did the master bedroom downstairs, remodeled it for Claire, and then took another bedroom for Brendan and remodeled it. So it was a busy time. Later on, in the 2010, 12, 20, we spent a great deal of time. Wilma would babysit the grandkids. It was really our second family. The first family was Mark in Denver, but being that far away, we didn't really get to see the grandkids as much as we should. So we had a great time with all the birthdays and parties and the kids growing up. Claire participated in a lot of live stage Brendan was a hockey player, and so it was really a chance for us to be grandparents and really enjoyed it.
Time is funny.
As we got older, we started to slow down, and we took our last trip to see the tulips. We took a Viking cruise to see the tulips in Amsterdam. That was our last overseas trip.
Kids are grown.
Along in 1921
Quiet when you're alone.
came the COVID. We were first in line to get our shots because both of us had lousy immune systems. We were real lucky, but we were very cautious.
Keep spinning on.
We didn't do a lot of entertaining or a lot of going out, and so we did not get COVID, which was really good. Then in 1922, or in 2022, Wilma came down with a mysterious illness. Everything that she ate left her lips with grease, which made it very difficult for her to eat. One of our big enjoyments was good food. And even the having snacks and the goodies were difficult. We spent the year 2022 going from doctor to doctor. We went up to San Francisco. We tried doctors in San Jose, doctors in Gilroy. No one could come up with what the problem was. So throughout 2022, we spent a lot of time trying to figure things that she could eat. At the beginning, she could eat a lot of chicken and sweet potatoes. So we spent a lot of the evenings trying to get our meals to where there were things that she could eat. But throughout that year, she lost a lot of weight. By the end of 2022, she got an infection and had to go in the hospital, and she weighed 98 pounds. Lisa came down from Montana, and we convinced her, and the doctors said that the only way we were going to keep her alive was to put her in a feeding tube. So we convinced her to do it. And in the first part of 2023, we had a good time. Her feeding tube, she adapted to it very well. She gained, in 23, she gained to 106 pounds. But again, with her loss of weight, her dementia started getting worse. We spent a lot of time in the hospital and in rehab. But during that time, she would get to the point where she couldn't walk, but then she would recover and she could walk with her walker. We spent a lot of time in the living room where we had the beautiful view, and it really paid off because we enjoyed it. Later on, in 23, she got to where it was very difficult for her to walk. We'd spend a lot of time in the car. We drove around a lot. We went into the Santa Cruz Mountains. And as I say, her dementia kept getting worse. But through that whole time, I had a number of caregivers come in. And I spent all my life with her. In 2024, her dementia had gotten to where I was always able to work with her, but it was difficult for the caregivers. In April 2024, she went in the hospital again. And when she came out, it was pretty obvious that she was never going to walk again. I put her in rehab. We had a good rehab over in Los Gatos. Spent a lot of time fighting with the insurance company. But she got the best care that she possibly could. When she came home, in the first part of April, I hired 3 caregivers who were very good. They were older people. They could associate with her, and she could associate with them. After that time, she was pretty much bedridden, although we could get her up, used a lift. We turned her over basically to the end-of-life people who were very good to her, and she was comfortable. But obviously, it was not going to last much longer. All through that time, we really still had a good time. We still enjoyed each other. During that time, I should mention that Lisa's daughter, Claire, spent a lot of time here, and she really enjoyed that. Claire decided she wanted to change her name, so now she's Stella. We haven't quite gotten to that point that we can change, but she was a good kid. On June 4th, she gave it up. And as I say, she was a good patient. She didn't give us any problems at all, even with her dementia. You hear a lot of problems that people have of not being themselves and fighting with their caregivers and all of that, but she was a good patient. So on June 4th, 2024, she passed. My greatest achievement? Well, I think it was certainly IBM was a very successful career. But I think really the biggest achievement was the time that Wilma and I spent together. The things that we were able to do and the things that we were able to accomplish certainly was our greatest achievement.
under the moon. We raised up a family, left our names in the sand, and you always fit perfect when you held my hand. Now I walk a little slower, but I still see you there. Laughing by the window with flowers in your hair. They say nothing lasts forever, but that ain't quite true. 'Cause love like ours keeps shining through. We were lucky. Love was our compass and time was our friend. I'd do it all again, right to the end. A life worth living, a love worth having. We were lucky. We were lucky, my love. We still are.
Now, what I'd like to do is make a few comments to tell how we feel about our family. We were both very proud of Mark and Lisa. They did well with their lives. They had good lives, they have good lives. They have a good families. And so we feel that we were very successful with our lives. Now it's up to the grandkids, to their families, to carry on with the family. So with that, I will close it out. Thanks for everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wilma Jean in a sundress swaying on a soft spring afternoon, with a smile that caught the sunlight and eyes that lit the moon. I was young, just a dreamer, but I knew one thing was true. The moment that I saw her, my whole world turned to blue. I took her hand, asked her kindly, darling, would you dance with me? She She stood by me through long days while I worked my fingers bare. She kissed my calloused knuckles and braided ribbons in her hair. We danced through Rome and Paris, chased sunsets in Belize, shared wine and whispered secrets beneath the cypress trees. Then came the stillness. Her voice grew small and light, but she held me like she always did that final winter night. She said, darling, don't you cry for me. Just look at what we've done. We made a little heaven here. Our race is fully run. It was a life worth living. Every sunrise we
I wanted to make this little episode primarily for the family, not only to have our history, Wilma and I, but also to have the history of both of our families. People look at pictures. We had a lot of pictures of our grandparents and our parents, but I wanted to talk a little bit about them and then go into the early stages of when Wilma and I met, so as they got some idea of the life we lived. And it'll be a permanent type thing that people can see later on, that at least documents Wilma and my life. Okay? Okay. Well, mainly, I worked for IBM for 35 years. I enjoyed my job. But every time we built a new house, I spent an awful lot of time working on it. I love carpentry. I have a big shop in California, in a house in California. And I love doing things because in IBM, I went from engineering to management fairly fast. Actually, within my first 5 years of the company, I was in management and spent all the rest of that time in management. And I really enjoy coming home, not having to work with people, doing what you wanted to do, and doing how you wanted to do it. In 1960, I bought him an electric train because I never had one. We never could afford one. So for the first 4 or 5 years, he played with his train, and actually I probably played with it more than he did. So from 1960 until present, I have collected Lionel trains. It's a big collection. My problem now is that I'm going to have to get rid of it. There's no one in the family that I can give it to that really are interested in it. Other than that, Wilma and I were great sports fans. In Denver, we had season tickets for the Broncos and season tickets for the University of Colorado. When we came to California, I spent we didn't have season tickets out here. We would go to Denver. She was a big Giant fan. And I spent a lot of time with Lisa. She was a big soccer fan. And San Jose was just getting started with soccer. And we spent a lot of time learning and watching soccer. Other than that, it's been mainly, I've occupied most of my time with woodworking and working on the shop, all right, and the house. I've learned that you can do anything if you take your time and be careful. Oh yeah, I'm working right now. I've been working for the last month and a half, I guess, on my deck. It's a big deck. It's 35 feet square, and it mainly is that big because I built the shop on the house, on the end of the house, and I put a roof on the shop, and then the deck is on top of the roof. So there's about a foot between the top of the roof and the deck. And it had been built, I built it probably 5 years or so, maybe 10 even after we moved in. And so it all had to be replaced. It was all wooden, redwood, beautiful redwood. Back then you could buy redwood cheap because California was growing a lot of it. And so I have a lot of plants on the deck, and as you watered them, the water runs down and the deck had rotted. So I have spent a good 2 months with a helper because I can't, with my legs, I can't do a heck of a lot. But I know exactly how it was built and I can train him. And we're right now, today, or yesterday, we started to stain the deck. We got about half of it stained, so it's, all of the hard work is done. It's just a matter of staining it now and moving the plants back on the deck. The house was built in 1975. We sold our house in Colorado for $67,000. So we came out here, we spent $26,000 on a lot, a beautiful lot. And then we decided to build our house. And because of the view and being on the side of a hill, we had the house designed as a 2-story with a garden level back. But with that $67,000, we only spent $100,000 building the house. So we got about $125,000 into it. But we left the downstairs. It was had all the foundation and the floor was poured. But other than that, it was empty. We finished the upstairs. It was 2,200 square feet. Has 2 bedrooms up, which is all we needed. And then with my anticipation of building a shop at the end of the house, a woodworking shop, I put a slider in the kitchen that goes out onto the deck. So that's why we built the big deck. Then later on, I finished the downstairs. I finished everything. There's 2 bedrooms, bath and a half, a family room, and a train room. So my train, my Lionel train collection, I knew that it grew a lot over the last 40, 50 years, but I knew I wanted a room for it. And it kind of outgrew its room, but I did have a layout so I could run my trains. So all my, throughout the, from 75 into 25, it's 50 years. I spent my evenings, early years, of doing the landscaping outside. Laid a whole bunch of brick, have brick walkways. So as I say, I learned that you could do anything if you just took your time. So I'm basically an electrician, a bricklayer, you name it.
A life worth living, a love worth having.